invite Mr. Gagan Sabharwal, Senior Director for Global Trade Development at NASSCOM, to anchor a discussion on opportunities for Indian SME in Germany and understanding digitization needs of German Mittelstand. Over to you, Gagan.
Thank you, Harsh. Thank you very much. Hello, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you are joining us from today. Welcome to this first session of the Global Trade Development Team from here at NASSCOM in this wonderful NASSCOM SME Conclave 2022. I am Gagan Sabharwal. I shall be your host today for this particular session that we have with our German colleagues. You just all heard, a wonderful keynote from our colleagues from Germany, Mr. Jan, who's the executive board member of BVMW. And in this session, we'll talk about the opportunities that lie for Indian SME community in Germany and understanding the digitization requirements of the German Mittelstand. Just so you people don't relate with that term, German Mittelstand is a German word for the small to mid-sized enterprises in Germany. They're also known as family hidden jewels in some context in Germany. So just to give you a context, why Germany is important for all of us today. Post US and UK, which happens to be our largest market, EU is the third largest market, where we can attribute our revenues to. And within the European Union, Germany is the powerhouse and is third largest in some sense for our revenues for the Indian IT industry. But do keep in mind that both Germany and UK are more or less similar sized markets by way of IT spending. But our share in case of UK is almost close to about $30 billion today, whereas Germany is in the region of about $5 to $7 billion. That tells you many things and gives you a sense as well. So why is that Germany treats and perceives India differently than the UK, even though they're both similar-sized markets? One easy thing to deduce would be to say we have language constraints. But trust me, it's more than the language when it comes to Germany. Germany is far more conservative culture. You can in some ways call it as a Japan of Europe. And there are very, very many similarities between both ecosystems. So in case of Germany, as in case of Japan, the relationship, trust, how do you do business, process you take to deliver it, and more importantly, basically more important than the price itself or the end result that you deliver. So that's one key aspect. Another point that I wish to make over here is that Germany is also known for its Mittelstand, which actually attributes almost 70% of the GDP, the German GDP. And with blessings from both government, Indian government and the German government, we are here to promote, co-innovate, co-create culture between India and Germany through our various initiatives. And we believe that Germany is extremely good on the hardware side of things, India good on the software side of things, and within specifically in the Mittelstand community or the SME community, if we can come together, then we can do really something amazing. And this session primarily will be focused on how is it that Indian SME community can work with the German Mittelstand. Speaking of Mittelstand, we have a wonderful panel today to hear from them and for their insights. So let me quickly introduce to our panelists today, Mr. Reinhold von Ungern-Sternberg. He's the Director for International Markets for BVMW, our co-host and co-partner for today's session. Mr. Norbert von Poblotzki, he's the head of Schmersal Group IT. Schmersal is a Mittelstand in Germany. We also have Rohit Gupta, who's head of Technology Center for ThyssenKrupp, and we will later be joined by Julian Willms. He is heading the Indo-German Digital Dialogue. So without much ado, let me bring in my panelists. And Reinhold, if I can begin from you, let me first hand it over to you for your first initial remarks.
Well, thank you, Gagan, for the introduction and about German business and about the idea of Mittelstand, about the SMEs in Germany. Well, indeed, as you said, German companies are open to work with Indian partners, but they are conservative. So if you consider some aspects of collaboration, then you will succeed in business with these German companies. And I would like to say some remarks about that. So we are, as an association, we have together with our partner associations, almost up to 1 million companies we unite here in Germany, and we have different sectors of these companies. So we have lots of Mittelstand IT companies in our portfolio, as well as, of course, many more who are interested in cooperation because they use IT, as we all do. So we think that, considered the fact they are conservative. So the German companies are mostly in rural areas. We are not centralized as other countries like Great Britain, like France, with a strong capital region. If you want to talk about business in Berlin, the capital of Germany, then you mostly meet lobbyists like us and politicians and think tanks. You also meet a lot of startups, yes, but the real business, the industry, the manufacturers, they are all over the country. I mean, you have Munich, you have Hamburg, you have all the big cities, but you have so many hidden champions, as has been stated before, in the rural areas. And this means that they're doing business internationally, but sometimes the owners do not even speak English, or they really live in the rural regions, and they are used to, for generations already, to finance their business with their own money and not with a bank loan. And they're really slow in taking decisions, but when they take a decision, it is very well considered, and then it is a very strong partnership. So I think one of the main aspects in working with German companies is not basically an IT issue, but it's the GDPR, the General Data Protection Rules. And if you fit to these rules in terms of cooperation, then you have a big step, done a big step forwards. So it's easy to get first understanding of how these rules works. But if you have this taken this step, then you have and the second one is the language. English, of course, is mandatory for German and Indian companies. You will. English is not a deal breaker, but if German companies do speak not too well English, but if you have people who speak German, then you will have a better market entry and a better intercultural understanding with the partners, definitely. So I would say for the intro, this is enough.
Thank you, Reinhold. We'll come back to you soon. Let me now bring in Norbert von Poblotzki from Schmersal. So Norbert, over to you for your initial intervention and a brief introduction about Schmersal. Norbert, you'll have to.
Yes. Sorry. Thank you, Gagan. It's quite interesting, and thank you for the introduction. And yes, we are one of these conservative companies. However, I see this, I think, also as a strength. What that means, I will maybe come back later to that. Let me shortly introduce myself. I'm head of the Schmersal IT, the worldwide IT, since 2010. This is quite a long time. Our company is also existing quite as typical for German right after the war. The World War II was founded, so 77 years ago. We are having almost 1,900 to 2,000 employees, where it has 1,600 users. We are running 7 production facilities around the world and 13 sales companies. We are, of course, 100% family owned, no bank, no external shareholder. It's purely family Schmersal, and they are active, they are still present, they are every day in the business, so you meet them quite often. It's not an anonymous shareholder somewhere on a piece of paper. And that's also one of our strengths, really, because we know who we work for. And that's also part of our culture. Product-wise, we are having quite a wide variety. This is also typical 25,000 products, all sorts of products and variances. We do safety products in terms of machinery safety. So we prevent people from being injured when operating a machine. And this business has been quite also shifting. And this is also interesting because we started with mechanical products. Okay, of course, a switch or an interlock preventing a door from being opened where the machine is running behind, to more and more electronic products and more sensors, intelligent products, software products. And we are also active in the IoT 4.0 area. We are having, for example, in the elevator area, we have a cloud-based elevator system where we can help reducing not only the safety of the elevator, but also the TCO of the elevator, reduce it, and so on. So this is also shifting our business. We have to be there. We have to go to cloud, to modern technologies. And this is also the problem, part of the problem, because it's hard to find the right people here. And there it comes to where to get these competences which we need, which are essential for our business in the future. Because the business turns to more software and to more complex and electronic products. Yeah, that's maybe for our company. We are operating centralized IT. One of my major goals when I was employed at Schmersal was to centralize the IT, coming from a very spread around IT into one central team, which we managed quite well. And since 2014, we have also 2 colleagues. We started with 2 colleagues in India with our own support center, and this has now been increased this year to 40 people. So we have developed quite far, and this also has developed from a quite supporting area to a more active area. So we have Indian colleagues which are do more than just support. So we are also using their high competence more and more. And I think this is also part of the story that we are almost depending now on the Indian colleagues. And this is part of the story. I think that's it for the beginning. And we may touch other effects later.
Absolutely. Thank you, Norbert. Let me get you in, Rohit, now, representing ThyssenKrupp. Over to you. You're on mute, Rohit.
Thank you for that, Gagan. Hello, everybody. I'm Rohit Gupta, head of the Tech Center for Analytics and Software Engineering for ThyssenKrupp in India. This center is part of the innovation network at TK, and we are working on building products and product-related services using niche digital technologies like AI, ML. I've been with ThyssenKrupp for 3 years now, and a few words about ThyssenKrupp. ThyssenKrupp is an international group of companies comprising largely independent industrial and technological businesses. We employ more than 100,000 people with operations in more than 56 countries. Our business activities are bundled in 6 segments. Material services, which is the largest materials and logistics distribution provider, supplier for raw materials in the Western Hemisphere. We have an industrial components business, automotive technology, so steer-by-wire engine components. Steel Europe is the second largest producer of steel in Europe. Marine systems, and The last segment is multi-tracks, which is our cement plants, mining and chemical, and the whole plethora of EPC businesses. We have a portfolio of approximately 18,000 plus patents and utility models. And our presence in India goes long way back. We have been in India for more than 100 years. So I'm happy to be here, and I'm going to talk more about what ThyssenKrupp has been doing with India later. Over to you, Gagan.
Thank you, Rohit. Thank you for that impressive introduction. We'll come back to you soon. So let me straight away dive into, I'm mindful of the time that I think we started a little late, so we'll have to cover up some ground. So let me begin with you, Reinhold, first. You representing the German Mittelstand, the association BVMW that we are proud to be a partner of. Hopefully we'll sign a partnership agreement soon once we get to meet face to face. But we hear a lot of stories and look at a lot of data sets that says that Germany is extremely facing severe shortages when it comes to skilled resources. In some cases, they say that it threatens the industrial progress of Germany as well. And Mittelstand companies are also lagging behind in terms of adoption of digital transformation and Industry 4.0. And whereas we know that India has far more surplus and resources and skill sets available, but this partnership has been challenging to say the least. As I said earlier, in comparison to the UK relationship that we have. So, what are the reasons in your head representing the German Mittelstand? What are the gaps that you see that we need to bridge?
Well, yes, you clearly described the issue we have with this. So on the one hand side, our skilled workers that are limiting as a bottleneck to bring forward the capabilities in the Mittelstand of these topics. Because if we would have more skilled workers here, we would maybe even more ask for partnerships with India, because many companies did not even start the full-fledged program of all IT, KI, and AI and other topics they could do. Recently, with our big partner here in Germany, the Deutsche Telekom, the main telecommunication company, the CEO told to our members that we have already all the solutions ready to go, but people hesitate still to care about and to do something because they consider all to be too complex. So this is a shortage that leads to less cooperation. But nevertheless, I think this is now gaining speed, and so we have to look how we can bring this from two sides together. As I mentioned, we have the hurdles of shortage of specialists, conservatism a bit. Then maybe the mentality in UK is a bit different. Also, the deep, long connections between UK and India, of course, and the new orientation of UK as well, because we have European rules for first for having specialists here from outside of the EU countries, and we have this GDPR issue I mentioned. This makes things a bit complex, maybe too complex sometimes, we think. Then but we also want to look not only on the problems but also on the solution side. So I think if these steps I mentioned before are taken, then German Mittelstand is a very good partner for Indian companies, and you can approach us because we have on the one hand side we have direct contacts to our members who are very interested in international corporations on the level of on the field of IT corporations, and on the other hand, and we have different focuses in our commissions and expert groups here that can easily define what we are looking for, where we could find matches. And the second is we have this alliance of Mittelstand associations who are very focused on the projects, like for instance BitMe association in Germany, who is in an alliance with us, and Association of Breitband Kommunikation. I don't know how to translate. It's about the kind of grid, yeah, for connections, internet connections. And I think on this basis we can bring companies together. We cooperate more closely with you, with NASSCOM.
Thank you, Reinhold. Thank you very much. Okay, Rohit, let me get you in to just break the loop, and so that ensuring that you're awake, just in case you were thinking that your turn will be the next one. ThyssenKrupp, we all know, is a very large conglomerate. So my very straightforward candid question to you is, setting up the India IT for ThyssenKrupp, was it to be able to reduce cost, scale in early, or was it more strategic in some sense to be able to be the hot innovation bed where you can create, test, and then execute strategic projects across global markets?
So, Gagan, I would take that question in two parts. A little bit of history, and ThyssenKrupp has had quite an intense strategic relationship with the country in terms of that we have all the 9 operating units present here in India. It's a 100-year association, as I said. For the benefit of audience, India is our 3rd largest market in Asia Pacific, and to supplement with some key facts means we power 60% of the windmills in India. 70% market share of chlorine plant business in India belongs to ThyssenKrupp. 60% share of cryogenic ammonia storage tanks is with ThyssenKrupp. And we also established recently, not so recently, a couple of years ago, first and only dedicated aerospace materials and logistics facility in Bangalore. So I think the journey is long, so I wouldn't say that it was just cost that was the driving factor. I think as companies started to internationalize and keeping that 100-year history in mind, I think one of the factors was cost. But ThyssenKrupp is a company which is very, very customer centric in all its businesses. And let me take the example of the chemical plant business. And this business came to India about 40 years ago. And today is a premier partner for EPCM projects for chemical and fertilizer plants in India. In the early days, yes, cost was one of the reasons, but there was also a market to be tapped into. And then there was a recognition that there is talent available. So I think cost translating to talent availability early on, and I think Reinhold talked about it a little bit, how talent shortage is a driver. So given this talent availability, and when I say talent, I mean skilled talent, competent in mathematics, good in English. At least that was the language for stage. And I still remember a lot of programs where we still go through basic German language courses to understand the nuances of culture. And we went on the path where we already realized that cost is for the short term. The real value will come by having people available here. And I have a compelling example of this, how our chemical business, right? So they started in late 90s already, shifting some of this domain expertise under the train-the-trainer model to India. And today I'm proud to say that apart from the 700,000 hours of design work that we do for local customers, we also contribute to 300,000 hours of design work for global projects from India, right? So this was not just cost cutting. This was as there was retiring population in India, in Germany, with experts going away. This was to set up another location where expertise is available, closer to the customer to be able to address the needs of the customer. So to synopsize, I will say we started with the strategy for India from India, and now evolving into the mode from India for the world.
Wonderful. So that explains it enormously. Thank you, Rohit. Let me come to you, Norbert, now with a similar question. You as in company, as an organization, are in safety solution business, and in multiple countries, you have manufacturing facilities across the globe, but you chose to have IT out of India. What were the drivers in your case?
So it first started, of course, as a just lack of resource, but it turns more and more into some kind of really competence center. That's the reason why we also renamed it a bit, because we see that we can make more out of it. For example, our worldwide SAP S/4HANA rollout, which we have to do because the other version is being seized, we have really no chance to do this from German point of view. So, and our colleagues this is also one of the key, that we find very motivated people in our team here. And sometimes I have really the feeling more motivated than you can motivate any German. So we see big advantages in India. We find, and there's no moaning about working hours or whatsoever. So we find it's really an ideal partnership for us. So, and the motivation turned a bit from just we need some resources, cheap resources, into some, we really can gain competence from this competence center. And this is also what I see for the smaller companies. What their strength is, they need to show their competence. They need to show what they can do really. And it's not just, okay, we can make it cheap. Yes, cheap is okay, but you need to also have a value. You need to bring these companies, these German companies, they're looking for value. So you need to understand what their problem is, what their pain points is, and what their situation is, and then to see if you fit into their requests. So this is what I can really propose here. And let me maybe also show one of the things which we figured at the moment. It's not a self-running thing. It takes a while. You need to get in touch. We have different cultures, and this is not just, you cannot just make a seminar, intercultural seminar. No, you need to really get used. You need to get familiar with the people. You need to get friends with the people in the different cultures, and then you manage. But without, it's really a bit of challenge. So because you have to consider different culture. And this makes it a bit of a first step barrier to contact German companies directly. But at the end, show your value. And there is a lot of value we see in our colleagues in India, a really lot of value which we don't find in Germany.
Thank you, Norbert. Let me come to you, Reinhold. You brought about a very important and pertinent time, topic about German companies being spread all across Germany, rural areas, tier 2, tier 3 cities. And the BVMW Association is touching close to 1 million members in Germany. And many members of NASSCOM have come to us asking us, how does a NASSCOM BVMW tie-up helps us? You mentioned about BitMe, you have many associations under your flagship association. So the question in more ways than one is, how is it that our association helps Indian companies to get in front of some of your members?
Okay, thank you. Well, associations like BitMe are completely different associations, of course, but we built a strong network for many years already together. So I think we are very close allies, and so we have good channels to bring businesses together. I would say something. more optimistic than I said before, because if you want to make business, or you're starting business with European countries besides UK in European Union now, then you consider different markets. You can start with direct partnerships, of course, somewhere in Italy, Poland, or Spain. But if you want to go into a market and you have a go-to-market strategy, then many companies from US, from China, from India, they start with Germany. Why? Because Germany, of course, is the largest economy in Europe, and then the German Mittelstand has huge potential. And I would say if you make it in Germany, then you can make it in the other countries as well. Nevertheless, that many say you have to start in France from scratch again, because we are more different than it seems sometimes from outside. But nevertheless, it makes a lot of sense to start business in Germany. Then to some manufacturing technologies. As far as I understand it, I'm not an IT expert. There are certain touch points to bring in some knowledge from your member companies in the first on the first level. And because if you have member companies who are experienced in dealing with certain niche players in certain industries, like electrical, mechanical, automation, mechatronics, and so on, if you have certain such field experience in your IT companies, these are the partners, the German Mittelstand. I mean, I always speak in general, but there you can easily find companies who are interested in partners that have solutions for certain such topics and fields of business and manufacturing and industry. So I see this would be the priority of business that we could bring together from my point of view.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me come to you, Rohit, now. You mentioned about ThyssenKrupp, and I must say it was quite intimidating, keeping in mind that, most of our audience today is SME community here in India. So I think, if I were in their shoes, I would be scratching my head, how do I work with you? You are extremely large in size. So, you did mention to me, you call yourself a startup, 200-year-old startup. So I think we wish to hear from you why you call yourself a startup. And B, how is it that smaller Indian companies can aspire to be working with you, whether here in India for your global operations or whether in Germany?
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I think that's how I see. We are a 200-year-old startup, so there is a rich history and heritage and culture with the company. A lot of domain expertise. And as I mentioned in the intro, we are a group of companies. So in a way, we have large businesses within the group, but also these hidden gems you talk about, right? Because that's the culture inside these operating units. And I think it's not new. It's that data is the new oil, right? So when I say that all these companies are on a path to digital transformation, means all of them in some way can benefit from the Indian SME network in different ways. So let me start with an example, right? So when we talk about digital technologies, primarily the keywords that come to our mind are artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics, and drone technology. If I were to pick an example of a drone technology, we recently developed a new service around drones, right? Now, what you need to understand is we are not a drone company. We developed a service around drones because it helps us develop better value propositions for our customers. As I said, we make large plants, large industrial plants. And for a German company, safety of their own personnel and in the conditions they are working is paramount. These large plants involve going to heights, making inspections of different equipment that have been supplied by our company. And in the future, what you will see is it will not be people. It will be an autonomous drone that will be going on these heights, pushing the data to the cloud. This data will be processed by experts with the help of AI/ML technologies, and a custom report will be provided to customer in very less time. Now, if you think about the chain, I'm using that as example, and being an Indian and knowing the strengths and the maturity, we have come a long way in the Indian ecosystem. I think there are many opportunities across the chain. Another example I can take are different businesses have different methods and tools that they use. And as we modernize our systems to emerging technologies, the need for real-time data impact change from a customer office to the design office. If that change is communicated in real time, the harmonization of tools with the idea that the impact of data change is made visible as soon as possible, this has strong potential to save several engineering hours of rework. To me, that's another area for which there is ample skill available in India. Yeah, so yeah, back to you, Gagan, but I hope this gives your SME community an idea on the areas where they can contribute with us. I think one part you said is how they can do it. Means one part is being a German company, all the processes are very clearly listed. And I think centers like Tech Center India also are acting as platforms to connect to ecosystems. I'll possibly in a way that if there are use cases where specialist expertise on digital topics can be brought from the ecosystem, that's also another role centers like ours are playing. Back to you.
Thank you, Rohit. Thank you. I'm sure there will be a lot of people in audiences who wish to get connected with you to understand more about the problem statement and be able to come back with a use case. Norbert, let me come back to you with a similar sort of question. Being a German Mittelstand, a very valued one, you opened your center of excellence here in India. You got good team ramped up. Are there any opportunities or are there any problem statements where you're happy to work with an Indian SME, even though you have your own presence in India?
Oh, we actually do. We have not only engaging our own people, we are also already engaging a couple of other IT companies in the term of application development. And of course, SAP support in the areas where we do not have our own resources. And we're already using these companies. For example, also for a very huge application, strategical application we are doing for our safety consulting area. This is totally developed by an Indian company. And however, the beauty is that it is controlled and coordinated by our Indian colleagues. So, and that's also the good thing that if you have someone on site, then it's a big advantage if they talk Indian to Indian then. Of course, I would always take any other possibility. If there's more of a need, if you have a demand of other sources, then of course we are very welcome, or we are very happy to ask Indian companies for that, as we do. And this is also an increasing thing. So we are thinking about to give more and more projects to Indian companies, which is then out of the reach of our own team. So this is an increasing, for us also an increasing approach and the strategy where we also, it's not only a short of research of own resources in Germany, it's also, if you ask other companies, they have the same problem. So you don't find a consultancy company who has free resources. They're all booked for the whole year. So our escape really in a good way and with a lot of positive topics is really to engage Indian companies here.
Thank you, Norbert. Glad to hear that. I think it's the moment now where we should get one of our co-contributors on the Indo-German digital corridor, Julian Willms, in our spotlight section in this panel discussion now. He's been instrumental in initiating Indo-German digital dialogue from GIZ. So Julian, if we can have you on the screen, I think you have a couple of slides for us. So over to you, Julian.
Thank you, Gagan. Actually, my presenter is not working, so I don't know if you can see the slides and move them. Otherwise, I would say let's go along without. Before I start, I would like to thank all panelists for sharing their insights on this very relevant topic. And of course, also thank you again to NASSCOM and the German Association for Small and Medium-Sized Businesses for the collaboration in setting this session up together with us. I represent the Indo-German Digital Dialogue, which is a high-level political format between the Indian and the German government, aiming for internationally harmonized framework conditions for the digital transformation. However, it is also a platform open to stakeholders like you, and this includes trade associations like the ones I just mentioned, but also industry, SME, and startup representatives, so our esteemed participants. Thereby, we provide mutual exchange between high-level policy discussions and specific issues on the ground. And this helps, again, promoting a better understanding for the requirements of all sides, and of course, also economic cooperation. But let me give you some examples for this to make it a bit more concrete. Together, Germany and India have agreed on 3 priority areas for their work. And this pretty much reflects, I would say, the strength, but also the focus of both sides with regards to the digital transformation. For Area 1, Internet Governance and Data Policies, we facilitated a session on multi-stakeholder approaches to Internet governance at the first Indian Internet Governance Forum last year. For our second area, Emerging Technologies, we have fostered open exchange formats with the industry on topics such as digitalization in the automotive or manufacturing sector. And for the third area, the cooperation between the mighty Startup Hub and the German-Indian Startup Exchange Program. And this supports, of course, the collaboration between the startup ecosystems of both sides. But of course, there is also plenty ahead. For example, we will have an exchange about data policies on both sides and its impact on business. With regards to AI, we will discuss how internationally harmonized guiding principles and standards are crucial to enable innovation and business success in this area. And lastly, we think of a practical guide on how to cooperate between Indian and German companies. We do this together with our esteemed hosts. And this is, of course, not decided yet, but I think the discussion today shows that such a guide could be of great benefit. I would like to end with 2 recommendations relating to the interesting discussion today. And this underlines what Reinhold said in the beginning. Firstly, I think German companies are sometimes rather conservative and static and process-oriented. And they can widely profit if they open up for cooperation with agile Indian startups and SMEs in the IT and software sector. However, to make it a successful cooperation, also the Indian side needs to understand and adopt to the requirements of its German partners. And then again, and secondly, this also applies to the quite strict data regulations in Germany, which Reinhold also already mentioned. If you have a digital business model and want to be successful on this market, you need to understand and comply with these rules. All the more, I would like to encourage you to get involved in political discussions in order to learn, provide your perspectives, and of course also to network. And I think the digital dialogue could be a good channel to do this for you together with our hosts who are also engaging on this platform. If any of the mentioned activities, topics, or objectives appeal to you, please reach out to us, because in the end, our digital dialogue very much depends on the active engagement of its stakeholders. It's a stakeholder platform, and this could include also you. And with that, thank you very much, and back to you, Gagan.
Thank you. Thank you, Julian. Thank you very much. We look forward to working with you on this important initiative that you alluded to, Guide for Indian Companies. I think we have precisely about 5 minutes left, so I will request one minute intervention from our panelists. So, Rohit, starting with you, you have extensive German experience, American experience. You know how India is fancied with American, way of working, at least in IT. What's your take on, or what's your advice to the Indian companies? You know, how should they approach the German Mittelstand?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think Julian and Reinhold gave some tips. Means I think by nature, German companies are conservative. See, Americans, they are more driven by individual success. So if I were to put that in business context, I think it's more about autonomy, freedom, individuality, and though group success is important, there is a overt significance on individual success, right? Now, having worked with German companies for close to 2 decades, what I can say, what I find is there is a high desire for German companies to avoid uncertainty if that's possible. What that means is, and now I will try to shape the answer for our SMEs. So when you are getting in touch with a German company, it's not what you can do is important, it's how you are going to do it. So have a detailed plan how you intend to approach their topic, because these Mittelstand companies have laser sharp focus on their customers. That's why they are so successful, right? I think from an intercultural nuances perspective, I think Norbert said it cannot be learned in a seminar, absolutely. But I think what I would say is we as a Indian culture, we are also very patient people. It requires patience because German culture is about building consensus and cooperation through details in the beginning. So maybe when you approach a German company, you spend a trip to go there, and you don't hear from them, try to reach out and go back with questions in the form of answers that you want to provide for the questions that were asked to you. and be patient with them, and try to be a partner. Means that's what I would say. Don't try to be a vendor. Vendor relationship in Germanize is very transactional, right? So you pay to get some service. So try to be a partner, because that's possibly, and when I say partner, the definition of partner in my mind is you grow, so we grow. Yeah, simply put. So really, in my view, try to build trust rather than trying to reap early rewards. Build trust and money will follow.
Thank you, Rohit. Norbert, since you represent Mittelstand and you are open to working with Indian SMEs, your 2 cents on a similar topic. What's more important? I'm sure it's not price. You're on mute, Norbert.
Yeah, and I have to thank Rohit, because that's all. I fully agree to everything what you said, and I would add even a bit more stronger. Be honest to German companies. Don't say yes, we can do it if you can't. I think then you are losing right from the beginning. This is also one of the biggest learning in the intercultural aspect. Be honest, and you will gain continuity. You will gain long-term partnerships. I'm working with, in general, doesn't matter if in Germany or in India, I used to work maybe 10 years or even longer with reliable partners. And this is really partnership. And this level you need to reach. I don't like to change suppliers every couple of months. So in good times and in bad times, it's a bit like a marriage. And but you need to be honest. And if you're saying, no, we cannot do this, but we know someone who can do it, then you're winning. You're winning by being honest. And not selling is the topic here. Showing also results and experience. This is counting. Not good sales slides do not count. Your value and your experience and your results count. And this is also a situation where you need to really understand what their pain points is. Where can you help them? And if you can't, then tell them. And that's, I think, really, really important. The price is one thing, yes, but the other things is also important, because price-wise, I think you have also competitors in India. So there's even a lot of Indian companies, and there's always someone who can do it cheaper. But try to be not the cheaper, try to be the better one, understanding. And also one tip is, try to employ someone who has already contact, who is working in India for a German company or for a European company. This will also help that you have someone in the team who can be a bit like of a coach in this experience, especially if you don't have any contact to European companies yet.
Thank you, Norbert. I'm getting a lot of messages that we're running out of time. Actually, we ran out of time. There are a few more questions that I wanted to ask all of you, but I think we'll have to, in interest of time, wrap up our session here itself today. But I'm sure, it's been immensely, a learning experience for my own self, even though, I work with all of you on a regular basis. And I'm sure our colleagues from industry would have gained insights from this discussion as well. So, Reinhold, thank you very much. We'll take your inputs, the GDPR, the people mobility issues. We continue to work with our stakeholders and with support from our government. And Rohit, Norbert, thank you very much for joining us, and happy to learn that both of you and your organizations are happy to work with Indian SME community. Julian, we will definitely take your recommendation of coming up with the guide to work with the German Mittelstand. We will take that offline, but thank you very much for sharing that suggestion. I think, rather than me summing up the session, I think Norbert did it for us. Don't go for a dating relationship when you're thinking about German Mittelstand. Think of a marriage. So if you're there for a long-term commitment and not looking for a transactional relationship, then you will most definitely succeed. I think Norbert would agree with that assessment. And with that, we come to the end of the session. I must thank all our panelists for being here today and sharing their thoughts. We must mention that, we have a lot of plans for Germany in the coming months, given that the borders are hopefully going to be open soon. So all of you who are out there who wish to be there, just get in touch with us through SME Council or through GTD team, and be in touch with us for our next initiative with respect to German Mittelstand. Thank you. Bye for now. First, back to you.
Informative and engaging discussion on Indo-German Mittelstand partnership.